Hello, everyone. Welcome to the U.S. Immigration News. The Trump administration has unleashed a sweeping new executive order on immigration, and for many families, it feels like the ground has shifted beneath their feet. This is being described as the most aggressive order in years, one that reaches deep into the H1B program, the green card system, and the everyday lives of immigrant families who have built their futures in America. What once seemed like a structured, if painfully slow, pathway towards stability has now been turned upside down. For H1B workers in particular, this order is not just policy on paper. It is the collapse of a promise. In this video, we'll explain what Trump's new executive order actually says, how it is being carried out by USCIS and consulates, and what it means for H1B holders, green card applicants, families, employers, and the future of US immigration as a whole. If you are liking this video, please hit the bell button, subscribe, and like it, so that you may get updates straight to your smartphone. Now let's get into the video. The order, which the White House has framed as protecting American workers, rewrites the rules of how immigration cases are decided. At its core, it hardens the definition of what counts as a specialty occupation for H1B eligibility. It gives the Department of Labor authority to carry out far more invasive audits of employers, and it directs USCIS officers to take a tougher stance on every single renewal. But what is sending the deepest shockwaves through immigrant communities is the introduction of loyalty and moral fitness checks, a vague and subjective standard that allows officers to deny applications not just on skills or paperwork, but on a person's perceived political views, community associations, or even their social media activity. On top of this, U.S. consulates abroad have been given broader discretion to refuse visas, creating the possibility that a family traveling for a simple stamping appointment could see their American lives come to an end at a consular window. For H1B workers, the impact is immediate and brutal. Renewals that once felt like a bureaucratic hurdle are now treated like brand new applications, scrutinized line by line, with officers ordered to assume nothing and question everything. Requests for evidence, which had already become more common in recent years, are now flooding applicants in overwhelming numbers. Lawyers say it has become routine for clients to face repeated RFEs, often demanding documents that were already supplied in earlier filings. Some cases even include demands for proof of community integration, leaving families scrambling to understand what that even means. The fear that any small gap or inconsistency could now end in denial is pushing families to the edge. Parents who have worked in America for a decade or more are losing sleep, wondering if the next envelope from USCIS will contain a denial letter that forces them to uproot their children overnight. For green card applicants, the outlook is even darker. Employment-based applicants from India and China, who have already endured waits of more than 10 years, are now being told that their cases may be subjected to loyalty and moral reviews before they can be approved. Families who thought the finish line was finally in sight are being shoved back into limbo. At the National Visa Center, cases are being flagged for further review, interviews are being delayed or cancelled, and many applicants are finding their files placed into administrative processing, a black hole that can last months or even years without explanation. The despair is palpable. People who sacrificed their prime, working years in the belief that the green card was only a matter of patience, are realizing that under this order, even patience is no longer enough. Inside USCIS, the shift is obvious. Officers who once focused on moving applications through the pipeline are now spending their days digging into cases like investigators. Processing times are doubling, with renewals that previously took 3 months now stretching toward 9. Green card adjudications are slowing to a crawl, and the backlog is ballooning further. Immigration attorneys say their clients now call them in panic, not because they made mistakes in their filings, but because the goalposts keep moving. Families are stuck waiting, businesses are stuck waiting, and trust in the system is evaporating. The story is similar at consulates abroad, where the order has expanded discretionary powers to an unprecedented level. Applicants report that interviews no longer stick to job duties or document checks, but veer into ideological questions. People have been asked whether they support American policies, what they think about US democracy, and even about old posts on their personal social media accounts. One software engineer said his stamping appointment turned into a 40-minute interrogation about his political views, and another applicant described being asked to explain what American values meant to them without any clear definition. The fear is that decisions are now being made not on facts, but on an officer's personal interpretation of loyalty, creating a dangerous and unpredictable environment. The effect on families is heartbreaking. H-4 spouses, many of whom built their lives around work permits that allowed them to contribute to household income, are seeing renewals delayed or denied. In some households, one income is no longer enough, leaving families drowning in financial stress. Children, many of whom were born in the US or came here at a young age, are caught in the middle. They are honor roll students, athletes, and community volunteers, but their future in the only country they know is now hanging by a thread tied to their parents' visa renewal. Parents whisper about backup plans over dinner, whether they should start looking at Canada, Australia, or Europe as new destinations, because America feels less like home and more like a ticking clock. The economic impact is equally alarming. Technology companies, which have long depended on the H1B program to bring in highly skilled workers, are warning that the executive order will send talent fleeing to friendlier markets. Some firms have already started relocating teams abroad. Canada, Australia, and several European countries are reporting noticeable spikes in applications from professionals who no longer see a stable path in the US. The healthcare system is sounding alarms as well. In rural communities, hospitals depend on immigrant doctors and nurses to staff critical units. If these visas are delayed or denied, some facilities warn they will be forced to shut down services, leaving American patients without care. Small businesses are also suffering as they cannot afford the mounting legal costs of repeated RFEs and audits. Some are moving operations overseas, taking jobs with them, ironically undermining the very goal of protecting US workers. The Trump administration insists that this order is about protecting jobs and strengthening national security. Trump himself has said that for too long, the immigration system has worked against American citizens, and that this order puts them first. But critics see something different. They argue that the H1B program was already tightly regulated, and that loyalty and moral checks are a dangerous overreach, effectively turning immigration decisions into political judgments. Immigration advocates warn that the order weaponizes the system to discourage legal immigration without needing to pass laws through Congress. For immigrants who followed every rule, paid every fee, and waited years, the message feels unmistakable. No matter how much you give, you may still not be welcome. The visa bulletin has become a symbol of this despair. Families who once waited eagerly each month to see whether the cut-off dates had advanced now dread its release, fearing no progress or even retrogression. For many, the backlog now looks less like a line and more like a trap with no exit. Some applicants joke darkly that they may never live long enough to see their priority date reach the front. But beneath the humor is real pain and uncertainty. Looking ahead, immigration lawyers are preparing lawsuits to challenge the loyalty provisions of the order, arguing that they are unconstitutional and violate due process. But legal battles take time, and while courts deliberate, families remain in limbo. Employers are pressing Congress for relief, warning that America's global competitiveness is at stake. But in a polarized political environment, legislative action is unlikely in the near term. For now, immigrants must navigate a system that has become more unpredictable and more hostile, with the constant fear that one denial could erase decades of work and sacrifice. What makes this moment so devastating is that it is not just undocumented immigrants who are feeling the pressure. It is the skilled workers who trusted the legal system, the families who played by every rule, the children who only know America as their home. For them, this executive order feels like betrayal. The American dream they believed in is being crushed under the weight of policies designed to push them out. That's all we have for this bulletin. The U.S. Immigration News Channel provides all necessary visa information and procedures for your U.S. immigration journey. It is important to understand the United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, processing times, forms, fees, and more. We will continue to provide all information about U.S. visitor visas, such as B1 and B2, work visas, such as L1A, L1B, and H1B, student visas, green cards, immigrant visas, EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visas. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the U.S. Immigration News Channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.